Hello students, welcome to the lesson 19 of the first chapter from the subject Advanced Structural Analysis. So in this lesson, let us solve the second problem from the beams. The approach used here is the stiffness transformation approach. So let's get started. So this is a problem given to us. So it's a two-span beam where one end of it is fixed and the other two supports are simply supported. Okay, so one span AB has 60 kilonewton load and the span BC has a 8 kilonewton per meter load, and also at C there is an external moment of 10 kilonewton meter. Okay, so they have asked us to analyze this continuous beam. Also the value of E and I is provided to us. Right, so to start with, what is the first step in solving your stiffness matrix method? Step 1 is to identify the degrees of freedom. So how many degrees of freedom are there in this particular problem? How to identify? So fixed support will not have any degree of freedom. This is a simple support, so there will be a moment here, and this is also a simple support, so there will be a moment here. So there will be 2 degrees of freedom, theta B and theta C. So these are the 2 degrees of freedom which we have. Then the next step is what? Step 2 is to assign the global and local coordinates. So what is step 2? Assign global and local coordinates. Okay, so now in order to know the global coordinates, how many global coordinates will be there? It will be equal to the degree of freedom. So there will be 2 global coordinates. Coming to the local coordinates, it will be equal to 2 into number of members. 2 into number of members. So 2 into how many members are there here total? AB is one member and BC is another member. So 2 into 2, there will be 4 number of local. There will be 4 number of local coordinates and 2 number of global coordinates. So let us see how will the coordinates look. Okay. So here this is a fixed portion. Okay. So this part is a simple support and this part is a simple support. So this is your A, B and C. So at B and C you will have 2 rotational components. So let's take this one. We are assuming it to be clockwise. Okay, so theta B and theta C. So these are your 2 degrees of freedom. This is the first degree of freedom. This is the second degree of freedom. So that's the global coordinate. Coming to your local coordinate. So how will you show your local coordinate? So this is your beam. Okay, this is fixed. This is simple support. This is simple support. So your local coordinates will be 2 per member. So I'll take it clockwise. So this is your first local coordinate. This is second local coordinate. Here also I'll take it clockwise. So this is the third local coordinate and here it is the fourth local coordinate. So totally 4 local coordinates will be there. Okay. So be very careful when you're choosing the coordinates. Okay. This is standard. You have to choose like this only. As and when you practice more problems, it will be more clear for you. Okay. So the next step is what? This is step 1. So step 2. Then your step 3 is to find the fixed end moments. So step 3, fixed end moments. Okay. So for doing fixed end moments, what you have to do? You have to assume the beam to be fixed and you have to isolate the spans. So this is span AB and this is span BC. So this is A, B, this is B and C. Okay. So this has what? A point load of 60 kilonewton. This is 2 meters, 3 meters. So total will be 5 meters. Coming here, this has a UDL. Whatever external moments are there, we just skip it. You don't need it when you are calculating your FEMs. Okay. So 8 kilonewton meter. Now in this problem also, only moments, fixed end moments are required, but normal reactions are not required. Why normal reactions are not required? Because there are no vertical or normal reactions, whether either in your global coordinate or in your local coordinate, so they are not required even here. So what will be your fixed end moments direction? So this is bending the beam downwards, so you have to resist the bending. So this is how your fixed end moment will be. This will be MAB and this will be MBA. Coming to this point, this will be MBC and here it will be what? MCB. Now let us calculate the values. To calculate values, this is your W, this is your A, point load, eccentric loading here. Okay, so B is not center, it's eccentric. This is L. So this is W. What is the length given here? 6 meters. So this is your L. So let us calculate using the standard formulas. So first will be MAB. What is MAB? W AB square by L square. So it will be 60 into 2 into 3 square by 5 square. So this will come up to 43.2 kilonewton meter. Then you have to calculate MBA. So it is WA square B by L square. So 6 into 2 square into 3 by 5 square. So how much will this come up to? 28.8 kilonewton meter. Then here this is UDL over entire span. So it is symmetric. So what will happen if it is symmetric? So what will happen if it is symmetric? So MBC will be equal to MCB, that will be equal to WL square by 12. So this is a standard formula for UDL. Okay. So what is W8 into 6 whole square by 12. So this will be 24 kilonewton meter. So these are all your fixed end moments. Now what will be the fourth step? The fourth step is to calculate your EQJLs. EQJLs. So how will you calculate your EQJLs? They are nothing but, so this is what your step 4. So how will you calculate EQJLs? You just have to reverse the direction of the fixed end moments, whatever you have obtained. So this is your beam AB and this is your beam BC. So A, B, B, C. So to write the EQJLs, here see this is lifting the beam up, your fixed end moment. So this will be in opposite direction like this. This also will be in opposite direction like this. This is 43.2 kilonewton meter and this is 28.8 kilonewton meter. Coming here, this is also lifting beam up, so opposite direction. How much? 24 kilonewton meter. This will also be 24 kilonewton meter. Okay, these are your EQJLs. As I told you, you don't have to find your vertical reactions in this case. Next, coming to the next step, that is your step 5. What will you do in your step 5? Find the load matrices. Okay, so when you are finding load matrix, so what are the load matrix you have? One is PL, the other one is PE. Okay, so what is PL? What is the size of the PL matrix? So it's degree of freedom into 1, or what you can say, global coordinates into 1. So what is your global coordinates in this particular problem? It's 2. So 2 into 1 is your PL. So what you have to basically do is, whenever you are doing PL, you have to see two places. What are those? One is EQJL. So you have to see your EQJL and the original problem. Original external loads. Okay, so EQJL in the second coordinate. So you have to always compare your global coordinates and do it. See here at A there is no global coordinate, so you should not take this particular moment. Okay, so only where there is global coordinate you have to take those values. So this is clockwise, here it is anti-clockwise and clockwise. So minus 28.8 plus 24. Again at B you should see if there is any external moment here. So no external moment, so only this much is the value. Then coming to point C, or the second global coordinate, here it is clockwise, whereas here it is anti-clockwise. So it's minus 24, coming here it is clockwise, plus 10. So what will be the final values which we will get? So it will be minus 4.8 and minus 4. So this is a 2 into 1 matrix. This is your PL. Similarly, you have to do your PE now. For doing your PE, what are the coordinates? It is local into 1. Okay. So local, how many number of local coordinates are there? 4. So it is a 4 into 1 matrix. Okay. Now, what is that you have to remember when you are doing PE? You have to see only EQJLs. You don't have to see the external loads which are there in the entire structure. Okay, so we'll write the EQJLs. So see here, you have to check with the direction. See, this one is clockwise. Here at A, this is clockwise. So that will be positive 43.2. Next coming here, this is clockwise, whereas this is anti-clockwise. So it will be minus 28.8. Coming to the third one, clockwise and clockwise. So plus 24. This is clockwise, this is anti-clockwise. So minus 24. So this is a 4 into 1 matrix. So this is your 4 into 1 matrix. So what is this? Step 5, that is your load matrix. Then coming to the next step, what is your next step? Next step 6 is finding your element stiffness matrix. So what is the standard form of element stiffness matrix? If you are doing stiffness transformation method, it's Kij is equal to E by L into 4 2 2 4. This is a standard value. Now how many elements are there here? There are 2 elements. So individually let us find the stiffnesses for both the elements. First we'll do for KAB. So what is EI? So the EI is same in this case. See, we'll keep EI. In the later stage, whenever it is required, we'll submit. We'll substitute. Okay. Till then, not required. So EI by L is how much? 5 into 4 2 2 4. So this will be equal to EI into, how much will the value be? 0 0.8, 0 0.4, 0 0.4 and 0 0.8. So this is your KAB. Similarly, I have to do KBC. So it's what? EI into L. How much is L? 6 in this case. 4 2 2 4. So what will be the value? So let's write here. It will be EI into, on simplification you will get 0 0.67, 0 0.33, 0 0.33 and 0 0.67. Okay. So these are your KA and KAB and KBC. Okay. Once your element stiffness matrix are formed, what is the next thing you will be forming? You will form the unassembled stiffness matrix. So step 7 is what? Unassembled stiffness matrix. Okay. So what will you? How will you form unassembled stiffness matrix? Small k is your unassembled stiffness matrix. Nothing but KAB. You have to arrange your element stiffness matrix along the diagonal to get your unassembled stiffness matrix. So this will be of the order what? 4 will be here, 4 will be here. 2 rows, 2 rows. So totally it will be a 4 into 4 matrix. So if you want to write it, so what will be your K value? So you just write those values what you have obtained in your element stiffness matrix. 0 0.4, 0 0.8. This will be 0, 0, 0, 0. Here now it will be 0, 0. Here it will be 0 0.67, 0 0.33, 0 0.33 and 0 0.67. Okay, into EI. So this is your unassembled stiffness matrix. Once you do your unassembled stiffness matrix, now we are in the step 7. Now we need to move further for our step 8. So what is your step 8? Step 8. Step 8 is to form the displacement transformation matrix. So what is your displacement transformation matrix? What is the notation for that? It is capital A. So what will be the size for this? This will be local into global. So please don't forget. So what is your local coordinate? 4. What is your global coordinate? 2. So this will be your displacement transformation matrix. Now how do you find out? You have to basically apply. See, there will be two columns. So one is for your first global coordinates, that theta b. Here it will be for theta c. Here we are giving theta c as 1. Here we are giving theta b as 1. So see the effect of this on your local coordinates. So if you are giving theta b as 1, at b there are two local coordinates 2 and 3. So both will have effect. See, this is clockwise, and this is also clockwise. So what will happen to this value? It will be 0, 1, 1, 0. For 1 and 4 no effect. For 2 and 3 there is positive effect. Coming to C, check here, this is a clockwise movement. Here also there is a clockwise movement. So only 4 will have the effect. 1, 2, 3 will not have any effect. So what will happen to this? 0, 0, 0 and 1. Okay, this is your 4 into 2 matrix. What is this? Displacement transformation matrix. So once you find your displacement transformation matrix, what is the next step you have to do? You have to find your global stiffness matrix. So step 9 is what? Global stiffness matrix. So what is global stiffness matrix? Capital K. This will be equal to degree of freedom into degree of freedom. So it will be 2 into 2 in this case, because 2 is the degree of freedom here. So what is the formula for that? A transpose K into A. So let's do the substitution. So what is A transpose? Here you have. So you just change the rows into columns. You will get your A transpose 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay. So what is your K matrix? So let's check here. So this is your K matrix. It's a 4 into 4 matrix. So 0 0.8, 0 0.4, 0, 0, 0 0.4, 0 0.8, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0 0.67, 0 0.33, 0, 0, 0 0.33 and 0 0.67. This will be multiplied by EI. Then along with this, what you need to multiply? A matrix. A matrix is as it is, what you have written here, 1, 0, 0, 1. Always remember, first try to multiply these K into A, then you multiply it with A transpose. So we'll multiply this together and write the values. So your K matrix will be 2 into 2 matrix. Along with this will be as it is, 0, 0, 1. This is your A transpose. Now this multiplication EI I will write here. So what will happen? This row into this columns. Okay, first row into first column. What will we get? 0 0.4. Then first row into second column, 0. Then second row into first column, 0 0.8. Second row into second column, 0. Then third row into first column, 0 0.67. Third row into the second column, 0 0.33. Last row into the first column, 0 0.33. Last row into the second column, it will be 0 0.67. So if you observe, this is a 4 into 4 matrix. This is a 4 into 2 matrix. So this and this are same. Only then we can multiply. So what will the final output? 4 into 2 matrix. If you observe, this is a 4 into 2 matrix. This is what? 2 into 4 matrix. First you have to always write the rows, then you have to write the column. Now in this, if you observe, this is 4, this is 4. So what will be your final matrix? It will be a 2 into 2 matrix. So your K is a 2 into 2 matrix. EI, I'll take it outside. So multiply your first rows with columns. So first row into this column, what will it be for us? 1.467. Then first row into second column, that will be 0.33. Then second row into first column, 0.33. Then second row into the second column, that will be what? 0.67. So this is your K matrix. Right, what will be your next step once you know the K matrix? Your step, it's your step 10. What will you find in your step 10? You will find the displacement matrix. So what is your displacement matrix? Delta. So what is the size for delta? See, sizes it's better you remember. Okay. So it is degree of freedom into 1. So it will be 2 into 1 for you. So what is the formula for displacement matrix? It is K inverse into PL. So first of all, let's find what is K inverse. We'll do it here. I'll do it here for K inverse. You can do it in the calc if you want. If you don't want, you can try to do it manually. So I'm trying to find my K inverse. What is K inverse? 1 by determinant of K into adjoint of K. Okay. So what is determinant of K? We just have to multiply these both. So 1.467 into 0.67 minus 0.33 into 0.33. So how much will this value come up to? 0.8676. Then you have to write your adjoint of K. So for writing adjoint of K for a 2 into 2 matrix, you just have to, what you have to do is just change these values. Let's write 6.7 here and write 1.467 here, and these values you just have to put them as negative. Okay, so this is your adjoint of your K. So what will be your final K inverse? What you will do, divide these values with 0.8676. Okay, so 1 by EI will be the common term. So what will be the values you will be getting? 0.7687 minus 0.3838 minus 0.3838, and the last one will be 1.6908. So this is your K inverse. Now put that K inverse here to find your displacement matrix. So 1 by EI into 0.7687 minus 0.3838 minus 0.3838. This last one will be 1.6908. So this is what a 2 into 2 matrix. Now coming to PL. So you have already previously found what is PL. So where is it? See here. This is your PL. So how much? Minus 4.8 and minus 4. So minus 4.8 and minus 4. Just check if it is minus 4 or no. Minus 24 plus 10. This is minus 14. Okay. Minus 14. Right. Now this is a 2 into 1 matrix. Observe this is same. So you will get a 2 into 1 matrix. So what will happen to this? You will get 1 by EI. So what you have to do? Multiply this row with this column. So first row with this column. So what will we get? 1.6834. Then second row with this column, you will get minus 21.829. Okay. So this is your delta value. Now here, if it is positive, it is clockwise. If it is negative, it is anti-clockwise. So this is clockwise. This is anti-clockwise displacement. Displacement is nothing but your rotations what you have given. This is your theta v and this is your theta c, what you initially gave as global coordinates. Okay, So once you find your displacement, what is the next thing you will find? You will find your internal forces. What is the formula for internal force? Which step is this? Step number 11. Okay, so what is your step 11? Is to find your internal forces. So internal force is nothing but P. This is equal to K into A into your delta. So already you have K into A. We have calculated what is K into A. See here we have calculated what is K into A. This is your K into A value. That multiplied by your delta will give you the internal forces. So what is this value? K into A? It's EI into 0.4, 0.8, 0.67, 0.33, 0.6, 0.33 and 0.67. Just check. Okay, correct. Then this should be multiplied by delta. So what is delta? 1 by EI into 1.6834 and minus 21.8, what is it, 82983 also you can take. So this EI will get cancelled, then you have to multiply this with this. So first row into the column. Okay, so this will be the internal forces. So how much you will get? Writing the values here. So 0.6733, 1.3467, then minus 6.1465. The last one will be minus 14. So this is your P values. So once you get your internal forces, you have to find your final forces. So that is what? Step 12. So what you have to do here is find the final forces. So what is final forces? PF will be equal to P minus PE. So what are your P? We have the values here. So these are your P values: 0.6733, 1.3467, minus 6.1465, and your minus 14. Okay, so PE we have already calculated while calculating load matrix. So here this is your PE: 43.2 minus 28.8, 24 and minus 24. That's your PE. We'll write. So 43.2 minus 28.8, 24 and minus 24. Do the subtraction for getting your final forces. So this will be minus 42.53, 30.15, minus 30.15, and your plus 10. So these are the local coordinate forces. Okay. So now after finding your final forces, what is the next thing you have to do? You have to draw your bending moment diagram. BMD. Now for drawing BMD, please put the final forces into a system. Okay. So here this is minus. So this will be anti-clockwise here. So this should be in the order of AB, BA, BC, CA. Okay. So this is your force A, point A, point B, point B, point C. So this is positive, so clockwise. So this will be what? Minus 42.53 and this will be 30.15. You don't have to write minus, already you put the direction. So here it will be anti-clockwise. Why? Because it's minus. So 30.15 and here it will be what? 10. Okay, now when you want to draw the bending moment diagram, what you do first is try to plot these first and then the loading you have to plot. Okay, so this is positive, pushing the beam up. So I'll take it as 42.53. then this is also pushing the beam up. So let's take it as 30.15. Here also it is 30.15. Here it is what? 10. So this is 10 kilonewton meter. Kilonewton meter. So if you want to join from here, so if you want to join, this is how we will be joining it using a linear line. So these are linear lines. Okay. Now this is based on the final forces what you have, right? Now according to loading also you should calculate. So how will you calculate according to loading? So here there is an eccentric point load. So your Bm max in this case will be WAV by L. Okay, so that will be what? 60 into 2 into 3 by 5. So that will be equal to 180 kilonewton meter. Here what will be your Bm max? So this is a UDL over the entire span. So that standard value is what? WL square by 8. So it's 8 into 6 square by 8. So that will be 36 kilonewton meter. So this is 120. Wherever there is no load, the bending moment is linear. So if this is the point where your load is there, so you should put a linear line like this. I'm just putting a rough diagram. Okay. Next, from here to coming to this point, there is a UDL. So it will be a parabola. From here to here, it will be a parabola. Okay, what are these values? This is 180 kilonewton meter, and this is how much? 36 kilonewton meter. Okay, so if you want to plot the values, so these will be under negative values shaded in yellow, and coming to this, these will be under positive values. Okay, so this is your bending moment diagram. So the next step is what? To calculate your shear force diagram. Okay, so let's do it in the next page. Now what are we doing? We'll call it as step 14 for calculation of shear force diagram. Okay, so whenever you're calculating shear force diagram, make sure you're putting your final moments into consideration, or else you'll not get correct answers. Okay, so what are your final moments? What you have got here, this PF values are your final moments. So that values you need to incorporate here. So this is what? 42.53. Here this is what? 30.15. Here again this is what? 30.15, and here it is what? 10. Okay, so these are the values. Now this has what? A point load of 60 kilonewton. So this is 2 meter and this is 3 meter. I think this much is enough for doing your calculation of reactions. Now this is BC. So here there is a UDL over the entire span. The span is 6 meters, and what is the UDL we are having? 8 kilonewton meter. Now if you want to write the reactions, so the reaction here will be RA, the reaction here will be RB1, reaction here is RB2, reaction here is RC. Okay, so now let us do the calculation of the reactions. So first I'll do summation of vertical forces equal to 0, all upward forces will be positive. So in this case what will happen? RA plus RB1 is equal to 60, whereas in this case RB2 plus RC will be equal to 8 into 6. Okay, now coming to the second thing, what you have to do, moment about A equal to 0, all clockwise forces you will take as positive. Okay, so here there is already a moment which is an anti-clockwise direction, the minus 42.53, RA is passing through A, so it will not have any moment. Then coming to the 60 clockwise, so plus 60 into 2. Then coming to RB, it will be plus RB, no, minus, why? Because it is in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so it's minus RB into 5. Coming to this is clockwise moment, so plus 30 into 1.5 equal to 0. This will give you the value of RB1. It will be the value of RB1, 26.5 kilo Newton. Once you substitute this here, you will get the value of your Ra. How much will you get? 33.5 kilo Newton. Similarly, do for this particular thing. Okay, so moment about here we should take point B, clockwise positive equal to 0. If you start writing, here there is an anti-clockwise moment, so minus 30.15, RB2 is passing to B, so it will not have any moment. Then coming to this UDL, it will have a clockwise moment, so how much is it? 8 into 6, and it will be at 6 by 2. Then coming to this is also clockwise, so plus 10. Moment should not be multiplied by any perpendicular distance. Coming to RC, this is anti-clockwise, so minus RC into 6 equal to 0. So this will give you the value of RC, that's 27.36 kilo Newton. Substitute this here, you will get your RB2. So what will be the value of RB2? 20.64 kilo Newton. Observe all are positive values if you calculate, so all will be upward. The direction what we have assumed is correct. Right, now we have to draw the shear force diagram. It's very simple, go on plotting here. So left up is positive, so upward is positive, whatever is the value will come here. So how much is this? Ra 33.5 kilo Newton. Then at B, RB2, this is on the right side, so right up is negative, so that's how much? 26.5. Then coming here, left up is positive, so left up positive, it will be how much? 20.64, and right up is negative, so this will be how much? 27.36. Now here there is a point load. Okay, if there is a point load constant, at the point load there will be a drop. This is the joining. So this total will be 60. If you observe, 33.5 plus 26.5 will be correctly 60. Okay, so this is a positive value, this is your negative value. Now wherever there is UDL, what will happen? It will vary linearly like this. Okay, so this is your negative value, this is your positive value. So this is how your shear force diagram will look. So hope you have understood how to solve the problem using the stiffness method for a given beam. So analysis means trying to find the internal forces, displacements, and your shear force and bending moment diagram. Okay, this is your shear force diagram. Okay, so in the next class we will see one more problem wherein the EI will be different. For AB span the EI is different, for BC span the EI is different, and at B there is no support. In that case, how to do it, let's see in the next class.